Hi, Kingsley here. Today, we're going to tackle a topic that, if not handled carefully, could trigger you. And I think even when handled as carefully as I can, it still might, but it's one that I believe needs to be addressed. And you'll see why I say that in a few moments. The topic of today's video is understanding your husband's thoughts and feelings. Now, you may say, Kingsley, why would that be triggering? Isn't that something that, as a wife, I would want to do? Why would I not want to understand my husband's thoughts and feelings? Well, I'll let you decide as I unpack my thoughts around this topic today. Now, when you understand your husband's thoughts and feelings, you can connect, I believe, with him on a deeper level. And that's what I think you want to do. However, you come up against some obstacles along the way. And I think that at the end of the day, what you want to be is more supportive of your husband. And you want that connection to build a stronger and more fulfilling marriage. But that seems to elude you. It seems to not become the reality. And you're after that. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 actionable steps that you can take that I believe will help you understand your husband better, while at the same time becoming the extraordinary wife that God intends for you to become. I'm going to ask that you listen, or as you listen, ask God to reveal to you what he wants you to do with what you hear. Don't allow your emotions at any point in this video to derail you. It's so quite easy for that to happen. So don't get hung up on certain things and be derailed emotionally because of what you may hear. Now, here are 3 questions I like to ask right at the beginning. Have you ever faced challenges in understanding your husband's thoughts and feelings? Do you wish that your husband would open up more to you and share his feelings? Do you feel that your husband is keeping something from you, and that is why he doesn't talk to you as you would like him to? Now, these are some of the questions that will be unpacked indirectly in this video. So keep them in mind as we make our way through this video. Now, if you're new to this channel and wondering, who am I to be speaking on a topic like this one? Let me just say I'm Kingsley Grant, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified relationship coach. I've counseled and or coached hundreds of married couples over the years and have had, I believe, based on the responses, a very high percentage of success. I'm also a husband and have been married for almost 4 decades and have 2 adult children. So I've been at this for quite some time, as you can see. And one of the reasons why I'm beginning to shift my focus to equipping the Christian wife is mainly 3 reasons. So I want to give you 3 quick reasons why you may see more of this kind of topic coming from me on this channel. Here are 3 reasons I want to give you that I believe why it's so important and necessary for me to kind of shift to some degree in speaking directly to you as a Christian wife. Now, I believe that you have more influence on the marriage than you give yourself credit for. Okay, that's one of the reasons why I really have looked at, and the interactions I've had with couples, I'm seeing that if she only knew, and I said it to myself. Of course, I don't say that to the couple, but I'm thinking this in my, while I'm interacting with the couple. So that's the first reason. The second reason is that I believe that you as a wife is more invested in the marriage than your husband is. Generally speaking, that is true for most marriages. As a matter of fact, I did a quick survey, research, and was looking at the percentage of both genders, the husband or the wife, who are more interested and initiate relationship kind of interactions or events or even counseling. And of course, as you would imagine, the wife is way up there. She's over 70% of wives who are the ones who are the initiators. They are the more the ones who are, wants the relationship more so. Doesn't mean the husband doesn't want it, but for the idea of moving things along, she becomes that one. So I believe that, generally speaking, she's more invested in the marriage and to make the necessary changes for the sake of the marriage. And number three, when she is empowered, when you are empowered as a wife to carry out the role assigned to you by God as your husband's help meet, right? You're unstoppable. You're unstoppable, and the marriage becomes that way. So Kingsley, well, wait a minute. Are you putting all this on my shoulder? Are you putting the burden of my marriage on my shoulder alone? I know. See where I said earlier, based on how I'm unpacking this may begin to feel that way, but I want to hold on for a second. Don't jump ahead. Just kind of wait, and let's kind of walk this through and see what emerges for you as we talk through this whole topic. Now, these are just some of the reasons I believe this. If the mission of making marriages happier again is going to be realized, I've got to give you, the wife, and the tools to make it happen. And you may hear me mention the Christian wife, because I believe that the difference is that you as a Christian wife is more apt to hear not just what I'm saying, but you can align that with the scripture, the Bible. You can hear more. Is this what God also intends for my marriage? Is this what I'm sharing? Is what Kingsley is sharing? Does it align itself with the parameters or the ideas that God has laid out in the scriptures? And so I believe you have an ear to hear more, because you have the Holy Spirit who will help you to hear what God is saying, not because of me, but there's something that he will say, hey, you want to listen to that, right? So even with what I've just said, you might be thinking, how can a man understand what I go through as a wife? Now, I can say I can't fully understand what you go through, right? I can't fully understand, but I do know what husbands go through and how they think and feel. And I want to give you some of the inside scoop, right? So you can know how to interact with us. But I also make certain that we allow God to be the final authority on our marriages and not anyone else. I've just seen a lot of veering off the path in our recent times when it comes to marriages, Christian marriages especially. I believe we allow the world and society and culture to influence how we behave. And we've used our feelings, we've used our, what the experts are saying, not God, but the experts are saying, who have agendas. Many of these experts have agendas, and these agendas, I can tell you, is not godly. It's not moral. It's not what God intends for marriages. And don't let me get off on that topic. I want to stay on track here, but I wanted to share that piece with you just now. Now, you might think that trying to understand your husband's thoughts and feelings is at this point a lost cause. You might say, you've done that, and it's not for lack of trying. And some of you also might be thinking, you might be also thinking this, I don't know how to understand my husband's thoughts and feelings. I just really don't know. Or I have given up on even trying to understand him. My husband is too busy to talk to me. I don't think he wants to talk to me. And so some of those things you might be thinking as I go through this as well. But I hear you. I hear you in all of that. And having heard all your valid concerns, I want to assure you that this is possible. It's possible to understand his thoughts and his feelings. It might sound simpler than it actually is. It might not be as easy as it may sound, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Now I wanted to comment below whether you agree or disagree with so far with what you've heard, what I've just shared. While you're making the comment, would you just also hit that subscribe button? It'd be great for you to subscribe, because you want to hear what I have coming up in the next videos that follow this one. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. And this is one way to show your support for the channel. And you also let me know that you want more content like this. Now, if you're struggling with any of these thoughts I've just shared, I want to encourage you to keep watching. This journey not only nurtures your relationship, but also empowers you to become the extraordinary wife you aspire to be, even amidst what I've just shared as your own frustrations with your husband possibly, or the busyness and the demands of life. I believe that you can still emerge as that wife that you want to be, but also God intends for you to be. Now, I want to tell you a quick story about Sarah and John. Of course, Sarah and John are our fictitious couple. And I want to tell you just a brief story that to set the stage for where we were going in this video. Now, Sarah and John they're a Christian couple. They've been married for 13 years and they have 2 children together. Now, John is a busy man. He works long hours and he travels a lot for work. Sarah is also busy. She works as an HR manager at a hospital, and she also takes care of the kids. And so when John is traveling, you can imagine Sarah has to do double tasks, working, coming home, taking care of the kids by herself because her husband is out of town. It can be hard for Sarah to understand John's thoughts and feelings because he's often tired and stressed out, and he doesn't always have time to talk to her. Now, does any of that sound familiar to you? Can you relate to either Sarah or John? As a wife, what would you advise Sarah to do? Now, here are some practical steps you can take to understand your husband's thoughts and feelings. Before I share that with you, let me again ask you to hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button if you truly is liking so far what you're hearing, and hit that notification bell that will remind you of these new releases that are made on this channel. So make sure you do those 3 things, and I really would appreciate that. So what are 3 practical steps, actionable steps that you can take to understand your husband's thoughts and feelings? Now, keep in mind that, as mentioned earlier, that what I'm going to share with you may sound a certain way, and I don't want to lead you by implying or put a suggestion of thought in your mind as how you should think. But I want you to hear this, but hear this prayerfully, hear this from what I'm saying with this idea. Is there anything that I'm suggesting here align with what God has said in his word based upon your understanding of his word? Now, the first thing I want to mention is prioritize quality communication. Make time to talk to your husband without distractions. I've often heard, now I've heard it both ways, so I'm not suggesting that this is only with a wife, but I've heard, especially, the men will say, my wife, she's so much busy, so much on social media. I mean, she just can't put her phone down. It's almost like she's attached to her phone. It's not that he's worried about what she's doing per se, it's that she seems like she can never take her eyes off maybe her post on Instagram or any of the social media platform, and she's always on that. And so when they're talking, he would say, I feel I'm competing with social media or with her phone because she's not there. But I know I've also heard the wife have said the same thing, but I want to speak to you and ask you to do something different. I want you to be that extraordinary wife. I want you to be the wife that truly become what I believe God intends for you, that help meet, right? That empowered wife, that wife who's strong, who is able to lead a certain way. So listen attentively to what he says, because what he's saying of those moments when he does have a time to talk, when you do get a few words from him, you want to make sure that you reward that by your attention or by your attentiveness. Why? Because what you reward gets repeated. So if you're complaining that your husband is not talking to you, when he does, how does he hear from you that you would want more of that? How do you reward him? So by being very attentive and not being distracted and not jumping in and cutting him off and, getting emotional, and I talk about that in the future about regulating your emotions, managing your emotions, right? Self-awareness. I'll talk more about that, but because it's so important. And I've done that as well in other videos, but make sure you prioritize quality communication, right? Again, when you have him, I'll give a quick example. My wife and I were traveling from church recently, and while we're driving, we have a good little drive to church and from church, and I really look forward to that because we can be in the car together, we can have coffee, we can have any conversation we want to have that may be about things that we had going on this week or whatever the week or so on. And we are planning our vacation as of this recording, and she was said, let's talk about our vacation. Let's talk about our plans. And I really, really was, she's the one who does all the planning because, thank God for her. She truly done due diligence. She does the research. I mean, she has a little bit more time than I do. And I'm really thankful that we are our team in this regards. And whatever she come up with, I know she's done her due diligence. So I wanted to hear. And when she initiated that conversation, I was all in. I was all in. We had a conversation because it was quality time. We were in the car and we had little or no distraction because, of course, the cars are around us. I keep my eyes on the road, but we're having this conversation. So whatever opportunity you have, make sure you take advantage of that. So prioritize quality communication. Number 2, show empathy and support. Now, again, going back to Sarah and John. Now, Sarah is busy. She's working as well. But John is an executive and he travels quite a bit. And so he possibly sometimes things like, man, I got to go again. I got to travel and not be with the family. But he doesn't talk about that. He doesn't share his feelings. He just kind of, man up, so to speak. And he goes and he goes and he goes and he's doing this for his family. And so when he comes home, the last thing he wants to do sometimes is to talk about things. He wants us to kind of disengage and it's almost like, not down low, but he just wanted to kind of veg out, so to speak, right? Sometimes that's what it is. Now, I'm not saying that Sarah doesn't want to do the same because of course, she's also busy. But I think what happened is when she's able to try to understand his unique challenges as a man, as an executive, and it may just be not an executive, your husband, they may not be that way, but the fact is that you're still trying to acknowledge his hard work. Doesn't mean we can go back and forth on all of this, but I want to just stay here and understand that, out here, what about the husband? What about his role? What should he do? And I get that part. But here's what I believe. I said earlier, you have more of an influence. You are able, I believe, the saying goes this way, you are the neck that turns the head. You have more influence and impact upon the relationship of your family, your marriage, than you think. And so when you are showing empathy and support, it's easier for John or your husband to reciprocate that, right? Because you initiate through your gentleness and your empathetic approach, he will hear that more. So be there for him when he's feeling down, when he's feeling discouraged, even though he may not say it, but you can see that. You can see his body language speaking something. You can lean in and just be curious. And your curiosity may go something like this. Hey, John, I'm seeing that you're just a bit beside yourself and pulled aside and little or no engaging with us, me, myself, or the kids. And I'm curious. I wonder what's going on. What's up? Right? No, don't label and say, hey, why are you so upset? Why are you so distant? That moment he feels attacked, feels criticized on top of what he's going through. That's not the approach you want to take. And I could do more about that, but I just want to suffice to say, be very careful. I think empathy does imply you're going to go in a bit different. And the third way, now this is the part that I believe may, what I'm about to say, sometimes is what I find, can be combative. Sometimes I can hear a wife would say, well, what about him? What about, and it goes on and on. But number 3, show respect and appreciation. Identify areas that you can show appreciation to your husband. And along with that, let him know that you respect him as a leader of your home. Say, well, Kings, what? The leader of my home. Why is that so important? Well, imagine going back to John and Sarah. Sarah is there with the kids, and John is traveling. His home is tired. And so what happened is that if Sarah is approach him and just say, hey, John, I'm just want to say thank you for the hard work. It must be hard for you to be away from us, the kids, myself, and you come home and you're so tired, deal with all what you're dealing with just for us. I do appreciate that. It's important for him to hear that, because for us men, it's our ego. We are very egotistical, and that is true about us. Ego, it drives us. We love to have our ego stroked. I don't care. Very, very few men I find who is not this way, right? You may not necessarily see this. This may not be as important to you, but we as men, we are wired this way. So stroke our ego. And also the idea of respecting him. So it's not that you're going to somehow see this as an opportunity to make him feel small or guilty or whatever case might be, and, guilt him on certain areas. You can easily use that moment to remind him that, I'm so thankful that you are doing this as you're leading our home, as you lead us as a family. And isn't that what the Bible talks about, that God has created this hierarchical kind of thing, right? And this is what part of his role. So when he hears that from you, you believe in him, and you're not somehow using this to be weaponized against him. He hears it differently. And these are 3 ways I believe you can get your husband to understand him and actually hear his thoughts and his feelings. What are your thoughts on this? What do you think so far? Well, understanding your husband's thoughts and feelings is a key, I believe, to a happy and fulfilling marriage. So by following these suggestions, these ideas, these practical tips I've just shared with you, you can build a stronger and more connected relationship with your husband. Now, remember this, it takes effort and practice, but the results are well worth it. So I would encourage you to embrace the opportunities to strengthen your relationship and create a happier, more fulfilling marriage. And remember that God has a special plan for your marriage, and he wants you to be happy and fulfilled by understanding your husband and embracing your role as his helpmeet. You can honor God's plan for your marriage. And when you honor God's plan for your marriage, God will honor and will bless that as well. So I encourage you to try these strategies. They may not work overnight, but they will help you make progress. And remember, the more you practice, the better you'll get at it. Before we end this video, let me encourage you to at least gauge the state of your marriage. So I've created a simple marriage assessment quiz that you can take in less than 90 seconds that will give you a general idea of the state of your marriage. So if you're interested in this, you can find it at happiermarriagesecrets.com, happiermarriagesecrets.com/quiz, and you'll get a downloadable PDF with your results, and explains your next step, but also what the results mean. Again, you can access that at happiermarriagesecrets.com/quiz, and the links will be below in this below this video. Also, if you have not yet listened to the podcast, the Happier Marriage Secrets podcast, you can also access that, and make sure you listen to that by going to happiermarriagesecrets.com/podcast, and you'll see all the episodes I've talked about there. And I would encourage you to watch that as well. So again, I'm Kingsley Grant, and I'm on a mission to make marriages happier again. And won't you join me? I believe you will. Let's make this happen. So until next time, peace out, God bless, and I'll see you on the next broadcast on this channel. God bless.